Hello and welcome to the next episode of TheCoolKarnis with Dr. Raghavendra Rachuri. Hope you found the first episode enriching to hear about his journeys as he overcame so many difficulties and successfully completed his Gurukula education. The second story that I wanted to share with you is about Dhondopant Raghunath Deshpande, a Maratha prince who lived in the 14th century. He is more popularly known as Saint Jayateertha, and Dr. Rachuri will be referring extensively to him and his works in this episode. The reason I am reminded of his story is because how some of these callings work. The story goes that one fine day after a very tiring hunting expedition, he had a chance meeting with a pontiff, which gave him flashes of what his past life was all about, and he just decided to give up everything and follow the saint that who eventually became his guru, and he went on that journey and succeeded his guru. His contribution to the Dvaita Philosophy is immense, and that is what Dr. Rachuri will be talking about. Dr. Rachuri also continues about his journey of how he went on to get his PhD and how the students of Vedic philosophy, and that will also give you a sense of how rich our Vedic philosophy and the training system is, wherein these students are now able to very comfortably balance the digital age that they are in and the Vedic knowledge that they are gaining. So without further ado, let's get into the second episode, continuing our conversation with Dr. Raghavendra Rachuri. Hello and welcome to all our guests once again. We are continuing our conversation with Dr. Raghavendra Rachuri. In the first episode, we heard the wonderful journey that he had, starting as a student in Hyderabad, growing up with his siblings, heading to US as part of the stereotypical journey that all of us had as engineers and heading out, but then getting that calling, coming back and quite literally starting from the start, where at one point he was quite literally sitting in a class with 6 to 8 year olds, learning from the basics. And starting from there till getting his MA in Sanskrit and continuing with PhD, there is one enormous journey following a calling that was interlaced with a lot of hurdles, as we heard yesterday. But today we will continue the conversation and understand a bit more about how his journey has been since then and what is it that he and his organization is up to today. But before that, once again, I'll welcome Dr. Raghavendra Rachuri. Namaste, Acharya. Acharya, in continuation with our conversation yesterday, we had reached a point where I was requesting if you can double click on a few things, because in our conversation we have repeatedly used certain terms. So it will be helpful for our audience to understand what each of those mean, and especially in the context that you speak. So first one was about Madhva Siddhanta. The second was about, we talk about Madhvacharya or Acharya at times. And then you referred to Gurukula and Swamiji. So if you can kind of help us, all of us, understand what these terms stand for.
In the Sanatana Dharma, which is, as you know, practiced in India, the source books are the Vedas. So there are many darshanas that are there, which are very popular, which interpret the Vedas. They give the meaning of the Vedas and show a path of practice so that people can practice and get to the state of ideal living that is called as the moksha or liberation. So we belong to the Vedantic thought of the Vedas. So the Vedantic thought is mainly broadly divided into the Advaita, Vishishtadvaita, and the Dvaita schools. These are the three matas, three darshanas regarding the Vedas. So Madhva school was propounded by Madhvacharya in around 1200 AD. So Shankaracharya was around in the 7th, 8th century. So Madhvacharya came later and he was the last of the three acharyas. So this is about the Madhva philosophy. There is a continuous lineage of Madhva saints. So Madhvacharya has initiated several seeds of Vedantic learning. So they're all widely spread mainly in India. So they have established what we call as the mutts. So they have mutts everywhere in India. So through the mutts, the propagation of the Vedic Siddhanta, that is the Madhva Siddhanta, continues even till today. So there are several mutts, like Uttaradi Mutt, which is the mutt in which many stalwarts have come right from Madhvacharya. And also there are other mattas like the Vyasaraja Matha, Raghavendra Matha, and there are many Udupi Mattas like the Pejawar Matha which I was referring. So there are 8 mattas mainly to do service of Lord Sri Krishna of Udupi. So the mattas are mainly there for propagation of the Madhva philosophy and also initiating the disciples into the Madhva way of life. They are the guides, the Swamijis are the guides for the entire community. So the entire community is devoted to Swamiji. So Swamiji, they are the saints who have completely left the living as a householder, and many are directly initiated into sannyasa from the brahmachari state. Like mainly the Udupi Swamijis. They are the Bala sannyasis, many of them. So this is how the Madhva system is established and works. So they have established various centers of learning that we call as the Gurukulas. So there the teaching of the Vedas and the philosophies happen. So there is a big lineage. Many works have been written about Madhva philosophy. So Vedas have been interpreted by none other than Lord Vedavyasa, Bhagavan Vedavyasa. So the Brahma Sutras are the central text which we study. So there are many commentaries, and of course a Bhashyakara is the one who has commented upon the Brahma Sutras. So that is why, because there are 3 commentators on the Brahma Sutras who are popular. Shankara has commented on the Brahma Sutras, Ramanuja has commented, and also Madhvacharya. Previously, there are many other commentators also. In all, 21 commentators are mentioned in the books. So all these commentators give their own version based on what they have found in the authoritative texts. So there is an encouraging, constant debate that goes on here about the proper interpretation of the Vedas. We have heard many Vedic sentences that say the God and the souls are all one. and the world is just an appearance.
Mm.
This is basically the Advaita point of view.
Mhm.
So what Madhva did is he has taken up Advaita and he has completely critically observed its position,
Mhm.
and he has established the Dvaita Vedanta, which says that the world is real.
Mm.
And Madhva believes that the greatness of the Brahman or the Supreme God, that is Vishnu, is that he is the creator and destroyer, the maintainer. So Srishti, Sthiti, Samhara, Niyamana, Jnana, Bandha, Moksha.
Mm.
All these are due to the Vishnu, Supreme God.
Mm.
So therefore, the world being real is very important in this entire scheme.
And
That extends the majesty of the Lord.
mm.
So he could create all this. Bahuchitra Jagat, Bahudha Karanat. So he has created this vivid world in entirety.
Mm.
So this itself is a proof of his omniscience.
Mm.
And therefore he is full of infinite auspicious attributes. He
Mm.
is complete. He
Mm.
is Sarvagnya Swatantra. So this is, in nutshell, what is the philosophy of Madhvacharya.
Mm.
So the Gurukulas, they start from the basics, as I told you yesterday,
Mm.
basic Sanskrit learning, and then we study the Upanishads because they are the original works on which the entire commentaries are written, and then slowly we study the bhashyas,
Mm.
and the bhashyas are supported by the commentaries which are called the Tika Granthas.
Mhm.
So, for example, Jayateertha Tika.
Mhm.
So, Jayateertha is a famous commentator who has commented upon the bhashyas of Madhvacharya.
Mm.
So, therefore, he is popular as Teekacharya. So, his works are primarily read, and his magnum opus is Sriman Nyaya Sudha.
Mhm.
So, that is the final work that is taught at the Gurukula level.
Mm.
That is the Grantha, which would be studied for the degree or the completion of the course.
Of course. Mm.
So that is why we celebrate the Sudha Mangala.
Mm.
Once the Patha is done, so the students appear for examination in the same subject, so which involves all the subjects they have learned right from the beginning.
Mm.
So this is a culmination of the study
Mm.
which touches upon many schools of thought
Mm.
like Sankhya, Yoga, Nyaya, Vaisheshika, and all the Advaita, Vishishtadvaita, and several other Siddhantas,
Mm.
and establishes the Madhva thought, the Madhva philosophy,
Mm.
and interprets the Vedas
Mm.
according to the Brahma Sutras,
Mm.
as interpreted by Madhvacharya.
And the way you explained it yesterday, being a 12 or a 16-year-old education system, out of that, the initial 6 years, at least from a kid's perspective, is fairly elementary, learning poetry, etc. But the bulk of the crux of the education happens in the last 6 to 8 years, so to say. And
Yes.
all of this gets covered in that for duration for the students.
Yes.
Fantastic. And obviously you and all the students who are there, when they have completed, it means that they have completed this Sudha Mangala as a course. And how does the uh, evaluation work? I don't want to say the term judging, so to say, but since it's an examination, how are they evaluated, and who is in the evaluation panel? Is this live, or is this more written, or how is it?
It is an oral exam
Okay.
primarily.
Okay.
So nowadays, even written exams are conducted.
Okay.
But primarily it is an oral exam. A panel of scholars is invited,
Hmm.
and many Swamijis will also be invited for the final exam.
Mhm.
So they ask questions to the student, and he has to explain the context. They would quote a verse from the Upanishad or the Sudha work.
Hmm.
They have to explain the context and meaning of the verse.
Okay. And just to put things in context, Acharya, if there are, let's say, 100 students who start from the age of 6 or 7 or from the preliminary level, how many actually go up to the Sudha level? How many complete it successfully?
Uh, uh, Basically, when we actually there are, I suppose, let us say 100 students are there.
Hmm.
By the time we reach the culmination stage, only 10 or 15 students would remain
Hmm.
for various reasons.
Correct.
Yeah.
But this is no different in a way from the typical. I'm sorry, I'm comparing this so that the picture is formed in our viewers' heads as well. This is no different from a typical education system. Also, I mean, of course, the Sudha Mangala. In this instance, I would consider it as a master's degree, or sometimes even above that, right? If I just look at the
Yeah.
number of years of
Can call.
education,
Yes.
not like if there are 100 kids in first grade, probably the masters will be exactly like the number you mentioned, right? Not everybody is going to go up to the masters or the PhD level or something like that. So,
Yes.
so 1 in 10 is really what is going to make it there.
Yes.
Fantastic. And that also gives us a good segue, Acharya, to talk about what happens from there. So, yesterday you have just briefly touched upon your PhD journey. But I believe, just like a regular PhD as well, that is not only studies, right? So you'll be doing something, maybe some kind of, I don't want to call it work, but some activity, and then you're studying. Is that a fair understanding?
Yeah, that is correct. See, we after graduation, sorry, after graduating from the school, that Gurukula,
Hmm.
we have to take up some role,
Hmm.
maybe in the Gurukula itself
Hmm.
as a teaching faculty, or we can enter into some kind of research, publishing books,
Hmm.
and then you can also be a lecturer in some of the universities
Hmm.
if you want to go. Otherwise, you can continue your spiritual practice and also guide the community
Hmm.
by a way of discourses
Sure.
and conducting classes.
Hmm. And what path did you take, Acharya?
Initially, Swamiji has instructed me to, because I come from a computer background,
Correct.
so he instructed me to take care of the technology in the mutt.
Correct.
So I developed the website of the mutt and took care of the technical aspects. So after that, in my spare time, I used to take classes in Sanskrit or basic Madhva philosophy.
Mhm.
So few students used to come to my house to study.
Hmm.
And sometimes there will be discourses in the popular pravachana mandiras.
Mhm.
That was primarily my activity.
And
As I progressed, because I had the PhD,
hmm.
so I joined a research center of the Mata. the Dvaita Vedanta Research Foundation. There I had the opportunity to edit some works. They edit manuscripts and publish textbooks for Madhva philosophy. So I worked on such projects before I, started the Gurukula. So I had made myself busy in these activities. That is when I decided, because my son was studying in a school, and because he has studied under me, he knows Sanskrit quite well because he speaks Sanskrit from even his childhood days. What happened was, when he was in the school, he had to wait till other students learn the Sanskrit. And whenever he tries to answer, the teacher had no option of just to you be quiet, so let others answer.
Correct.
So then I thought maybe he has started early and he should not lose the initial advantage. So it is better for him if I teach rather than someone else teaches.
Correct.
And he has to wait till everyone joins him. That is when I got the idea, why don't I teach my son? So that means I had to cut short of the research activity, my other works in the mud, like taking care of the website, technology and all. I had to focus on the kid and his teaching. So, the place where I stay, from that I have to go to the mud. It's around 12 to 15 kilometers.
Correct.
So I usually used to spend around 3 or 4 hours just to take the kids to the school and bring them back.
Correct.
I thought if I can save that time, maybe I can teach them myself.
Correct.
So that idea I started off. And then one more student joined my kid. So there are two students. With the two students, I started the Gurukula. I went to Swamiji and got his permission and Mantrakshate. And then started off with the basic Sanskrit classes and poetry. From there, I started the classes.
And this is something where, for the lack of a better term, I'll say full-time education for the kids, right? They are not learning anything else in parallel, but this is the only education.
Full-time education.
Correct. Right.
So my background has helped in that way, because I could give them education in English. They have learned Sanskrit, and they're also good at computers. They work in advanced computing now. They are good in artificial intelligence. They make documentaries using, the state-of-the-art technology.
So
they have learned photography. So it's quite media-centric.
So I just want this to sink in again into the audience for a minute. All these terminologies that we are hearing, we think are cool, or something that happens only in the IT world. No, like this has become so pervasive that this is a part of everybody's life, and everybody is learning to use that as a tool. So as long as you understand it's a tool, you can probably make a lot of benefit out of it. And would love to hear more about what is happening in that journey. As we just heard Acharya say, the kids are now adept in AI, they're adept in technology in general, and they're using effectively for a cause. That probably is what makes it all the more important. Thank you for sharing that, Acharya, and I'll request you to continue. So how is that journey going for the kids? I'm sure that number of kids has gone from 2 to much larger now.
Yeah, yeah. Now around 10 kids are there.
Hmm.
Actually, there used to be more kids. Even kids have joined from other Gurukulas.
Hmm.
So we had a nice environment built up here where the study environment was very good.
Hmm.
In the initial years, uh, students used to be, very proficient in Sanskrit.
Hmm.
So students have come here, they stayed for 1 or 2 years, picked up good Sanskrit, and they went back to their schools.
Hmm.
So when such students were also there.
Hmm.
And the number of Gurukulas have also increased
Hmm.
in the means of time. So people went back to Gurukulas which are nearer to their houses, hometowns. That also happened. So now around 8 to 9 students are studying now full time.
And Acharya,
So
just to set things in perspective or to get this picture clearer, so once again, I'll ask the question that I asked yesterday, but how does this compare? For example, if they're learning in a parallel institution like this, where they're learning essentially Sanskrit, and tomorrow if they have to get out into the world the way it is today, is there any qualifying degree that this gives them, or it enables them to take a degree like a BA in arts or something like that? Are they equipped enough to go there? Do they still need to do a 10th standard, 12th standard, or all of that is addressed?
that is, I think, addressed because the local university, which is the Karnataka Sanskrit University,
Hmm.
and at the central level, there is a Central Sanskrit University.
Hmm.
They are offering us opportunities so that we can enroll into their courses.
Hmm.
Like I have done, I completed the PhD.
Correct.
I have not used my credentials of my previous life.
Hmm.
Right, I only appeared as a Gurukula student.
Correct.
Yet I could appear for the MA, complete the PhD. So
Okay.
there are options. There are certificate courses from the Sanskrit boards.
Hmm.
So if they enter into that stream
Hmm.
at the very young age, then they can complete the Kavya and then Sahitya and then Acharya Vidvat.
Hmm.
It's called. So Vidvat is equivalent to MA.
Hmm.
So such degrees are there. They can study in that stream also.
Okay, so that is encouraging to know in a way that if kids are following this, and especially for all the parents who are listening, so if kids are following this path, it does not mean that you're cut off from the way the world recognizes education. Sadly, education, in my opinion, should be more about the applied side of it. But the way world still recognizes education is based on some degrees. So this still enables you or gives you the pathway to get a degree the way the world recognizes, so that you can then step out into the world if you need to take that path where you probably need to get into a university to teach or what have you. You can show a BA or an MA degree and get work based on that. Wonderful, wonderful.
Right.
That is good to know. So Acharya, this journey has been amazing. So you're from a PhD, which probably you did somewhere around the 2009 2010 time frame, I take it.
Exactly. Yeah.
From there, now you have branched off onto having your own, if I could call it as a Gurukula, where you are now, having your own set of students coming. Uh, how does this journey continue? What do you see this progressing in moving forward? Are there any other plans you have in mind?
Yeah. See, my original plan was twofold.
Hmm.
That is to teach the students who are prepared to stay here full time and study the Shastras,
Hmm.
and also reach out to people who are busy in their professional life.
Hmm.
They're also interested to learn. So provide courses for them so
Hmm.
that they can also learn
Hmm.
in their free time.
So this would be more for working professionals like us if they
Exactly.
have.
Exactly.
Okay.
So I have conducted several Sanskrit courses and then philosophy courses
Hmm.
about Madhva philosophy. It is still continuing. Daily I teach around 3 hours
Hmm.
for people like you,
Hmm.
professionals.
And I would assume this is a combination of in person and online both, or is it more online, or how does it work?
Previously, before COVID, it used to be in person and online.
Hmm.
Now it is completely online.
And I believe that is in a way good because then people like us can also leverage it. If you're not in the same time
Yes.
zone or anything like that. Fair enough. Fair enough. And yesterday another point that caught my attention was when you were talking about Antaratma and him getting into Sanskrit poetry. Would love if you can elaborate a bit more on that. And I know that your second son is also somewhat in that creative direction. So if you can elaborate on that a bit more, because this is a very interesting avenue that I'm hearing. I'm sorry if I'm digressing here for a bit, but growing up, probably you can also relate to this. That's why I call this as a stereotype. That for all of us, we were get into this engineering, blah blah blah. This was how our journey was. But now I'm seeing that there is a far more. The society has also evolved to appreciate the other forms of art, so to say, and allow art to be a stream that you can pursue. So I would love to understand a bit more on that perspective about poetry. And you were also sharing some examples when we were talking about some applied forms of poetry of how you have used it for creative ways, for invitations, etc. I would love if you can talk a bit more on that direction.
Yeah. So my poetry basically started with the invitations most of the time.
Mm.
See, the first poetry I wrote is the invitation of my marriage.
Mm-hmm.
That was in a poetic form.
Mm.
And that was a trendsetter actually. Previously, it would be in a prose format, very
Correct.
standard format that, this person is marrying this person. But I gave it a poetic touch
Mm.
and composed a poetry and presented the invitation card. And my Acharya also requested me on the same day, you should write this again for my son's marriage.
Yeah.
But I didn't take it seriously
Mm.
because his marriage was around almost 1 year after my marriage.
Mm.
So I didn't take it seriously. I just forgot.
Mm.
But one fine day, I received a call from Acharya
Mm.
saying that you promised to give the invitation,
Mm.
kindly send it. So in those days, email and things, they are not very rare. So
Correct.
I had to fax
Mm.
the poem.
Mm.
I did not write it, uh, so I had to compose it the very same day
Mm.
in around 2 hours
Mm.
and fax it to Mumbai.
Okay.
Right? And that was also very popular
Mm.
because I thought many other scholars would have written because of the reach of the acharyas and the uh, person who is getting married is the Purvashrama, brother of Swamiji. So
Mm.
many scholars would come forward to write.
Mm.
So imagining myself writing for that purpose is beyond any kind of possibility. So I kept quiet.
Mm.
But when they ordered, so I had to write and then I composed.
Mm.
And I was very much surprised because I could complete in such a short time.
Mm.
And I was more surprised when they accepted it.
Mm.
They invited me and said, many scholars have written, so
Mm.
we have everything on the table.
Mm.
But we think that yours is more poetical and very pleasing. So we will continue with this version.
Mm.
But it is not complete.
Mm.
We're expecting certain, the Vadhu and Vara, their lineage,
Mm.
everything should be covered. But both sides, they were, illustrious families.
Correct.
So, but in the meantime, I had composed few more verses.
Mm.
So I showed those verses,
Mm.
and I said, okay, this is perfect,
Mm.
completes. But you have to also include others.
Mm.
So you have to rewrite those using all those poetries so that
With
they
your style,
combine.
but use some content or get some key points from the other.
Yeah, maybe sometimes use the same verses here.
Uh,
And so I had to do that. And after that, almost every other marriage, people used to come and say, you write our invitation. And nowadays, I pass it on to my children. So you write.
and so is it stopping at just uh, poetry or this form, or is it taking a style of music as well? Like, is there a tune to
It
this
has,
sounds now?
it has taken the style of music also.
Hmm.
Because I made it a habit to whenever I conduct some event, I write some poem or song
Hmm.
to commemorate that, and that is composed and sung during the event.
Fantastic. And slightly digressing again, Acharya, but is this something that is also taught as part of the curriculum where they learn music and this, if I could say, the science of music, like the art of music? Do they learn music in that sense?
Yeah, I planned it that way.
They do. Hmm.
Yeah. So they study under a good teacher. They have learned music.
Hmm.
So they can sing well.
So
They're
this is
not,
almost this again
yeah,
reminding. Sorry. Go ahead.
yeah. I just said that they are not perfect. They are still learning. So they don't compose. Now they are learning how to compose songs
Hmm.
because I gave them the opportunity to learn certain instruments.
Hmm.
Like few students are learning mridangam,
Hmm.
some are learning tabla, Hindustani music, and keyboard.
Hmm.
So all these are required for music composition.
Correct. Veena, I'm assuming, yeah, that is
Yeah.
also there. Correct. Correct. So what I was saying was this reminds me of the Dasaru, the way it all started, where the word of the Lord was being spread out and passed on to the commoners in a way. Well,
Yes.
that was in Kannada language, but here I am seeing that you have gone back to the to the main language of the gods, and it's being composed in Sanskrita itself. So are there
We
such, I don't know if I could
compose
call it
many.
prayers, but such compositions as well, which is praising the Lord or.
Yeah, definitely. Yes. Praising the Lord, praising the gurus.
Hmm,
Many Sanskrit compositions were made.
fantastic, fantastic. And do you or your kids also have a Ankita Nama that you use or
No, no, not yet.
okay. Okay, no, I'm sure maybe I'm envisioning this, but hopefully one day we will start hearing and seeing the compositions of you and your kids with in that lineage. So looking forward to that in a way.
Yeah,
Okay,
that is
so
Guru Anugraha.
yes, absolutely. I'm sure it will be there because the way we have heard this journey so far, it is evident that the anugraha is there. It is just about the direction in which this takes. So I'll come back to the conversation, Acharya. When we are having a Gurukula system set up like this, uh, pardon me if I do these comparisons again and again, because that's probably the best way in which we can understand a few things, right? Uh, how does the day-to-day operation and the commercial aspect of this run? Like, for example, in a typical school sense, we know that there are either public schools, government-funded schools, or there are private schools, right? So, is this something similar? Is government involved in this? Is there a steady stream of funds that come through some organizations in this sense, public or otherwise?
So, there is no government support.
Hmm.
Of
So, it's
course,
a
big
private school in this sense.
Vidyapitas
Hmm.
have acquired government support, but not all Gurukulas are supported by government.
Hmm. Okay. Okay.
So
So,
it's all public funded,
Hmm.
mainly by the devotees.
Hmm. And if I'm not mistaken, at least in most of the forms of Gurukulas, the students are really not the ones who are paying the fees, right? So they come
Exactly.
with the as
Education
normal
is completely free.
free for them, correct?
Yeah. So it is on the guru or the pracharya
Hmm.
to take care of all the requirements.
Hmm. So in that context, then maybe then another question that is coming in my head is, and I don't mean this purely because of the commercial side of it, because when there is no fees involved or when it's zero cost for the student, uh, then how do you like when you're identifying a student, do you see some qualities in the student? I know this could probably be a 6 8 year old kid, but is there some qualities that you see based on which you kind of identify that this will be a good student? You want to invest your time and your Gurukula efforts into that
Yes.
student.
Yeah, I do interview students
Hmm.
uh, and then decide the student can stay with us and then learn.
Can endure because they have to stay with you as well, right? It's not like they stay with
Yeah.
their parents and come in every day or something like that.
Yes, yes. Mainly, I observe only that part.
Hmm.
Being like interviewing him for some kind of learning, studies,
Hmm.
whether he's learned the alphabet or not,
Hmm.
that is not important. But
Correct.
because that we can teach.
Hmm.
It's only the adaptability,
Hmm.
whether he'll be able to stay here,
Hmm.
adjust to the environment.
Hmm.
That I see.
That is what you say. Fair enough. And fairly important because if they have to be independent and stay there and be with you away from their parents, they need to have a certain level of
Yeah. Sometimes I recommend,
hmm.
few more years to wait
Hmm.
because the kid is too small,
Hmm.
so he might not take care of himself.
Correct.
So they can wait and then they can join maybe
Correct.
2 years later.
And this is, if you can just tell our viewers a bit more, this Gurukula is in Bangalore itself, I take it, right?
Right, right.
Is there anything you would like to share more about that in terms of how either parents or even if we want to learn something, how can we be more involved?
Yeah, all the details are available in the website.
Sure.
So, atmashrama.org is our website.
Hmm.
So all the courses that are offered, we have a Sudanta Vedanta course that is ongoing
Hmm.
over the past 5 years.
Hmm.
I'm teaching the same group,
Hmm.
and I propose to continue up to the Sudha work for them. So that is going on.
That's
So all the recordings are also available on the website.
hmm.
There are also other courses like the basic Pramana Paddhati
Hmm.
and other things.
All of this going on. Fantastic. So I will surely be including the link for the website. So for all the viewers who are interested, you can click on that. You can listen to it. And I can say this from personal experience as well that once you start, this is a journey, this is a path. Everybody has their own path in a way towards reaching the end goal. But if this is your path, you will see that there is a certain attraction. You will start getting attracted towards this on a regular basis, and that's what this entire podcast has been about. So do give it a listen. Understand if this is what is your journey is about, and see if you get that click, and start moving in that direction. Wonderful. Uh, just to one last point on this, and then we'll probably move to the next topic. But if you can just help us understand, like you as a teacher and even a student, what does a typical day in the life look like for you? Because for you, you're busy with many other things. But if there is a teacher, then what does it look like from morning till evening? Especially because they live there, right? Otherwise, for us, it's easy to say that the kid goes out from 8 to 3 and comes back. But because the kids live there, I'm sure they have a daily set of chores and routine. What does it look like for the kids and for the teachers as well?
See, the learning here is different than the regular school system.
Correct.
As I said, we don't have any walls,
Hmm.
like no classrooms.
Hmm.
So this helps in a learning environment where students of all ages
Hmm.
are involved in the learning.
Hmm.
Right? When a teaching happens, let us say to a senior kid,
Hmm.
parallelly the junior kid also would be learning
In the same class.
in the same class.
Okay.
Right? I focus on all of them,
Hmm.
so I can quickly switch to whom I am teaching.
Hmm.
If he requires some more elaboration, I would do that immediately
Hmm.
and come back to the senior student.
Hmm.
So this is all there.
This is very interesting. It's almost like saying that a sixth grader and the 10th grader are in the same class. But each learning in a different pace, each learning in a different way, and you as a teacher are adapting to them rather than the
Exactly.
other way around.
Exactly. This is student-centric learning.
Hmm.
So the class happens like this. I say you start studying,
Hmm.
and then you take my help when you require me.
Hmm.
Right?
Fantastic.
So they have to study. They have to pick from their seniors.
Hmm.
They can learn from their peers, and also they can approach me.
Hmm.
I do conduct classes for them
Hmm.
because we have to teach the text.
Hmm.
So when we are teaching the text, I teach to a particular section, particular class,
Hmm.
but the other students are also will be there.
Hmm.
So they'll also participate if required.
Hmm.
So this is an open system.
Correct. Correct. Makes sense. Makes sense. And from a teacher's perspective, is it just you at this point, or you have other teachers who typically will be the senior students become the teachers, or there are other full time, who will be only teaching the students?
Yeah, I am the only teacher,
Hmm. Okay.
but for few subjects like the Veda and the music, there are few people who teach online.
Come in. Okay.
Yeah, so there is no resident teacher here.
Hmm.
I'm the only teacher, but
Okay.
there are a few teachers who are helping
Hmm.
in other subjects.
So, Acharya, how do you see this continuing? Now it's been a beautiful journey in terms of how you have now gotten your own Gurukula. Do you envision something in terms of where you see this in 10 years, 15 years, 20 years?
Yeah, I see this to grow and our children to continue this
Hmm.
Gurukula.
Hmm.
So they are, I think, 2 or 3 years from their graduation now.
Hmm.
Once they graduate, I would look forward to their complete involvement,
Hmm.
taking Gurukula to the next level.
Hmm.
And I have plans to uh, start some kind of a university for professionals, for others to learn.
Hmm.
So I have created a framework for that, which I call as Madhva Lab.
Hmm.
So Madhva is the traditional aspect of me,
Hmm.
whereas the lab is the modern
Okay.
technical aspect.
Correct.
So what I did was to collect the footprint
Hmm.
of our classroom. Whatever I teach, I have documented it in a particular format.
Hmm.
So, and I have created content out of it, which can be used to teach the professionals.
Hmm.
And I have given even opportunities for the students to directly teach the professionals.
Oh, okay.
I have conducted few courses for the professionals.
Hmm.
So this is a part of our study system.
Hmm.
So we invite lectures from other scholars also
Hmm.
that we conduct here. We run a YouTube channel where we conduct a lot of discourses
Hmm.
for our students. A lot of activities are there.
And this is also, again, I'm saying that, just going back to the point where technology is being effectively leveraged, right? If they are creating maybe some course content, or the fact that, using all the channels effectively to reach out, uh, because we are talking this, I'm saying audience, but effectively, all your students in a way, to reach out to them with all this, and technology can become a big enabler in that sense. Uh,
Yes.
so all the more power to Madhva Lab and the initiatives that you're running on. Acharya, as we come to the concluding part of our interview, I can't help but asking this question, going all the way back to the start. We talked about the 2000 2001 time frame of how your friends and your family were kind of concerned about the path that you are headed on. 25 years down the line, you have really kind of proven all of them wrong and set out in a new path. How do they look at you today? What changes has happened, or are some of them still naysayers?
Yeah, they are all supportive actually. So they said I am on the right path, and then everyone supported it. So they also, you know, due to several reasons, we might not take the right decisions in our personal life.
Hmm.
But if someone has taken the right decision and he is successful,
Hmm.
then I think everyone will appreciate and support it.
Hmm. And
And
your
that
own.
was my, very strong conviction.
Hmm.
I should not fail in this.
Correct.
I would set a wrong example.
Correct. And you use the right word. That's what I was also about to, because your conviction was the central thing in all of this, right? Because that was unwavering, because that was unshaken. You had that force in with which you were progressing forward.
Yeah.
See.
So
Uh,
many people have come forward after I joined.
mhm.
So Swamiji used to send them to me,
Hmm.
first meet him,
Hmm.
and then decide whether you want to join or not.
And what would be your assessment or guidance to them? Because again, not everybody will have that kind of determination like you, right?
Exactly. I used to test their conviction and determination,
Hmm.
and I would advise them,
Hmm.
accordingly.
Hmm.
They are looking like if they're asking too many questions like ifs and buts,
Hmm.
then I decide no, they are not.
They're not.
You know, they better be where they are.
Correct. Correct. And I am reminded of the story you shared in the earlier episode, where your hunger was visible, where you kept going to that priest in Maryland again and again,
Exactly.
just to see him. Right. That demonstrates the hunger. Whether you teach me something or not, I'm going to come and say hello to you.
Yeah, when I started here in the Gurukula,
Uh-huh.
so I had one teacher who used to say, "You go back.
Hmm.
You have such a good career, great things." So you do that.
Hmm.
Maybe you can come whenever you want. I can teach you,
Hmm.
be a part-timer
Hmm.
and learn Shastra if you want to.
Hmm.
Right. So I had to say, you teach me computers
Hmm.
because you know computers very well. You can teach me computers. Some people ask me, you teach us English.
Hmm.
So I had a common answer to all of them.
Hmm.
Definitely, I will do everything. But first, you teach me Sanskrit. Let me learn. Let me succeed.
Correct.
Because
Correct.
I should set the example.
Correct.
I come here, I have taught you English, I taught you computers, is not what I want.
Hmm.
Now you are interviewing me after 25 years.
Hmm.
I could not have said that I have taught English in the Gurukula, I have taught computer science to the Gurukula students.
Correct.
So, first, I should succeed in my endeavor to learn Sanskrit, stand for this. And then maybe now I am teaching students, I teach computer science, I teach modern science,
Hmm.
and teach several subjects. I have no boundaries.
Correct.
In fact, we have developed the Atmashrama Gurukula Center, which now houses a mini theater,
Hmm.
a recording studio, and a computer gallery.
Hmm.
The entire construction process was a learning center for the students.
Hmm.
They learned all the skills. Carpentry they have learned. So all the things that are around them
Hmm.
help them to evolve into a individual personality
Correct.
which is ready to accept anything.
So
I was
it's a very good
surprised.
point. Yeah.
See, people we used to talk about, in US like do it yourself
Hmm.
concept. In
Correct.
India, we don't see that much in students
Right.
because we don't do it ourselves most of the times.
Correct.
If you want to set up a table or an almara, you are not going to do that. You want some carpenter to do it.
Correct.
But I was surprised that my kids, they tend to do it themselves
Hmm.
because they have learned, they have seen, they have grown seeing this around them.
Correct. And that is a amazing personality trait that is also being developed, right? So knowledge is one thing, absolutely go after knowledge, but the ability to self-sustain, the ability to learn, have that curiosity of doing, doesn't mean that tomorrow you become an expert carpenter or you become an expert electrician.
Exactly.
That's not the point. But the fact that you understand everything as a skill, when you're in the pursuit of knowledge, all of this is a skill, and you are able to understand this as a skill and imbibe it. That itself is a great way of personality development for them.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
See, when I introduced photography to my son,
Hmm.
I didn't expect him to be so perfect.
Hmm.
He was like a professional photographer because he has acquired those skills.
Correct.
First, he was not afraid of anything.
Hmm.
He has learned to apply his learning, whatever that might be.
Hmm.
So he has picked up professional photographic skills,
Hmm.
and we were able to produce a very professional quality documentary
Hmm.
in a very short time.
Yeah. And all him just applying his skills and whatever he has.
Skills.
Yeah.
And no professional training,
Hmm.
just by observation and the skill set which is already developed within me.
Beautiful.
Utilizing that, he could learn new things.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Fantastic. Yeah, I definitely see this as a very bright light in terms of which this is headed, or a bright way in which this is headed. Acharya, as we come to the concluding part, I would just like to request if there is any message that you want to pass on to our viewers, who, by and large, you can say are people in our kind of an industry, who come from a certain stereotype, or in the IT background, or in this age group, who either themselves are pursuing knowledge or have young kids that they want to lead in that direction. So any message that you have for our viewers?
Yeah, don't be a stereotype. Believe in yourself,
Mm.
believe in your conviction, and if you want to achieve something,
Mm.
go for it.
Mm.
And believe in yourself and go for it. Gurus are there, Lord is there, so they will guide you.
Correct.
Karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadacha.
Yes. It's, ending on that powerful message from Krishna is probably the best way that we could have concluded this. Words are not enough to say thank you, Acharya Ray. Thank you for spending this time with us, walking us through your journey, walking us through the lessons that you learned, and essentially inspiring all of us, as you said in the last concluding point, that follow that passion that you have. There will be a voice in you that will guide you. There are gurus, or if not, there is the Lord Himself who is going to guide you. Once again, say thank you on behalf of all of us listeners. Thank you, Acharya.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure. And to our dear viewers, that concludes another very interesting podcast with Dr. Raghavendra Rachuri ji. We will be back with you very soon with another podcast with another very interesting trailblazer and their cool Karnis. Thank you.